Have you ever wanted a tool that would help you to feel more aware, more in tune with your body and what your inner wisdom knows? Are you looking for a way to transform stories and limiting beliefs? Do you want a way to move your ideas into action or gain more clarity on decisions? Then you might be interested to learn about intentional creativity. I'm Jennifer Russell, founder of Building Wings Creative Studio, and I help people to find their voice, rewrite their stories, and unlock the hidden areas of themselves to live a life that's more empowered. So welcome to my first episode. Today we're going to be talking about what is intentional creativity. So I've got some notes here, so excuse me if I'm looking down a bit. Just want to make sure I touch on everything. And of course, I've got my trusty kitty here who joins me with all videos, whether I want him here or not. So enjoy his company. He's playing with an eraser right now. So what is intentional creativity? Intentional creativity is, I think it can be fairly broad. I think that you can bring creativity and intention to almost any task that you do. And I think that approaching it with creativity would bring it a little more to life. Like, even something like doing the dishes or laundry or your drive to work or reading a book. I think that by checking in with our body and being more aware, you can tune in and create that intention. But for me, intentional creativity is using art supplies and Sharpies and doodling and painting and using that to check in with my body. And I've got my kitty sitting on my notes, so I'm just going to move him back over here. He just seems to know where my focus is all the time. So for me, intentional creativity usually starts with a question, an inquiry into something that I'm navigating. It could be a trauma, it could be grief, it could be about a business, it could be about physical pain, healing, what direction to take, indecision. Even during the day, if you're triggered by something, you can take it to the page and understand. Let's go back. Oh my goodness. You need to go, buddy. Alright, so let's just recap. Intentional creativity can be centered around trauma you've experienced, grief, it could be physical pain, it could be questions about a business that you're opening or planning for goals. It can be healing, it could be for direction you want to take and decision. Even if you're triggered about any topic during the day, you can always come to your canvas or your page and just put it there to let it rest for a bit so that you can come back to it and gain new perspective. So intentional creativity is a way to bring the unconscious forward to the conscious. Then from there we can give image to maybe something you didn't have language for before. So how did I get started? How did I find intentional creativity? Others would describe me as very quiet and introverted, and that I would appear calm and patient. For me, in my head, I don't necessarily feel that. There's always things going on in my mind. I'm always worried about something, what others think, what's the right action, how can I please this person. There's always this whirlwind going on in my head, so I never feel calm. My brain just never stops. And intentional creativity and creating in general has given me a place where I can tune out that noise, get into a state of flow, but also I can process those feelings. I can write about it, I can cover it up, I can give myself permission to make something ugly. I can draw a symbol and put my feelings into that, and then at the end of that time, I can come back, look at it, and maybe have a new perspective or insight into what it was I was putting into that page. So overall, intentional creativity has given me an outlet to express myself and a safe space to explore who I am and who I want to be. Over the past 10 years, with focus and determination, I have made it in front of you, and I am very excited to be here. this isn't something I thought I could do 10 years ago. And before that, it wouldn't have even been something that crossed my mind to have a blog and be doing Facebook Lives and creating videos for others with something that's really special to me. That would have scared the pants off me. My creative journey started with a New Year's resolution. I really wanted to learn how to draw faces. Actually, I just wanted to start something creative because I felt it was missing in my life, and the goal that I wanted to pick was drawing faces. And they didn't have to be photorealistic. I just wanted to know how to draw a face and look like a face, and maybe you could recognize who it was that I drew. So I Googled and I Googled and I Googled, and eventually I came across Tamara Laporte, who has her studio Willowing, and she has a faces course. So I took that. I was really excited, and I learned to draw faces. But also during that time, Tam launched a course called Lifebook, which is 52 weeks of inspiration from various different artists, and they use different mediums and have healing themes for each month. And now she's incorporating different modalities as well as different techniques. So you might have Reiki or photography or massage or I'm not even 100% sure, but there's a ton on this. If you've never heard of Lifebook or you've been on the fence about it, I highly recommend it. That's where I got started. And from Tam, I found this passion of how creativity could be used for healing, and it really lit me up inside. From there, I found Shiloh Sophia McLeod, who has a program called Color of Woman, as well as Intentional Creativity, and she just started a new one that uses metacognitive drawing. And I absolutely fell in love with her message and the depth of what intentional creativity could do. So Shiloh's course that I took, it was a 9-month intensive, really pushed me to step out of that comfort zone, claim myself as an artist, and show up here. Now that was in 2014 that I started that program. My son was born in 2013, and I remember laying there with him one night as a newborn and going, wow, if I want this little boy to live his dreams, I better start living mine. And that was the catalyst that really pushed me into Shiloh's course. And I don't know how I finished those 9 months, but I did it. And it has changed my life. So what about now? I still struggle with anxiety. It's there constantly. It's not as loud as before. I find that my creative practice has really helped me to focus, and there's a different voice inside me now that's a little louder than that critic and that noise from the anxiety and fear. It's a voice that's nurturing and calms that inner mess and pushes me forward so that I can push that to the background and live. I'm not running and hiding from conflict by pleasing others all the time. It's become more freeing, and I do think it was my creative practice. I now have the tools to cope and grow with that and gain new perspective. I used to think that my past defined me, so who I was taught to be, the experiences I had until this point, how I act now and how people respond to me are not what defines me. Those are fluid. I can be who I want to be, and that reflects outwards. So whether somebody that might draw people to me, and it might push people away from me, and it's still something I'm navigating. It's still tricky. Some days feel great and some days hurt, but it's more empowering to know that I can be myself. I used to think that I didn't have the talent or the creative spark to call myself an artist, and that creating would only be a hobby. It was, just learning the skills, and it would only be for me. But it has become so much more than that. Studies have shown that creating with intention reduces anxiety, depression, stress, anger. It gives people the ability to communicate abstract feelings and emotions. It raises self-esteem and self-acceptance and trust in one's own body. There are studies that show that it grows thicker and more developed gray matter. And I had to look up, I knew that gray matter was important in the brain, I just didn't know exactly what it did, so I had to look that up. So gray matter, let me look at my notes here, is where most of the brain's neuronal cell bodies are. And this includes area of the brain that involves muscle control, sensory, perception, hearing, speech, decisions, emotion, memory, and self-control, which all make sense to me over the past 10 years as I've seen myself develop and as I've seen others in the circles that I'm in grow the same way. I've also developed neural pathways in our brain, so if you're going to the page more often and you're getting those feelings out and you're changing your perspectives or you're recentering yourself in your stories and your limiting beliefs, then those are building and reinforcing neural pathways in your brain. And those will eventually become stronger than your old ones. And that's how we get new habits formed and new mindsets. If you would like to know a little bit more stats about intentional creativity, if you go to the intentionalcreativityfoundation.org, you'll find that Shiloh Sophia has completed surveys and research within her community that has thousands of women in it on their experience and how using creativity this way has helped them. And the results are really interesting. It's really cool to see the numbers on how people are responding to this and how it's helped them grow. I will put it in the notes for this video so that you can find it. So, recap. Intentional creativity is bringing intention to your work, to your day. It's not about making a beautiful piece of art. It's about the process that gets you to the end of it, and to look at that and gain some new perspective. And I would like to share with you a little video of an intentional creativity process that I did this past week. It's sped up for you and it has some notes on it for you if you wanted to follow along. In this video I used, I used a Sharpie for journaling. I had some acrylic paints, a few of your favorite colors if you have them. You could also use watercolors or markers. And then I covered it over with white paint or gesso, and then I drew on top of it with charcoal and stamps. But you could just handwrite or use your Sharpie on top when the paint's dry. So check that out. It's not about having fancy supplies. It's just about doing it with what you have and experimenting, staying curious. So I hope you enjoy that, and until the next time, be inspired.